Well, welcome back to Mr. Obsolete's Vintage Homesteading. Well, this will be the second video on this XL12 1972 model. I can't believe it. This was the dirtiest saw I've ever drug home, and I thought for sure I'd have to do a rebuild on it. But cleaned it up, came out really nice, and it cleaned up really good, and it's a runner. So anyway, we'll be talking more about it here. Today we're going to talk about our XL12 again. We did a video on it recently and stuff. We went over all the features and the displacement and stuff. It's 54cc, 1972. This is just a basic model with manual oiling, 24-inch bar, which we talked about before. But this saw I got off Craigslist for 26 bucks plus a little bit for shipping. It was only 120 miles away, and so it wasn't much, but this was absolutely the dirtiest saw I've ever collected. So we'll talk about that a little bit more here. But things that I had to do to it, being it's a 72, it has electronic ignition, so it had really good spark and really good compression when I got it. And so the things that it needed, because the gas tank was heavily corroded inside, took a long time to get all that out of there. And the filter I have in there is just a screen type, and I'm going to have to replace it with one that has a fuzz on it, I think, just to stop any particles from break loose in there and coming loose. As you can see, it cleaned up pretty good. Decals are still readable. Starting oiling instructions are right there. Homelite XL12 there. So the things that I did, the recoil starter rope was bound up in there, so I put a new rope in it, cleaned and lubed that. And anytime you get an old saw, you need to service the muffler. So this one I took it completely off, cleaned a little bit of carbon out of the port, and then glass beat it and restored the muffler so it's all as new now. And picked up a real nice cover there. The original one had a big break in it there, so I want to thank Mr. B, you know who you are, sent me that. And the other thing that was missing was this knob for the button for the chain oiler, so I found that and put that on it. But this saw was pretty much complete when I got it, and like I say, it was so dirty when I took off the air cleaner. It had a 1/4 inch of sawdust on it, and by spending about 10 minutes carefully cleaning it, I was able to save it. It's fine. But anyway, the other thing that this person did, which I think this is probably the original chain. I think they just ran it until the fuel system gave out, and so I had to do a major rebuild on the fuel system. But the chain on this thing has filed down more than any chain I've ever seen. Even Mr. Obsolete, being as thrifty as he is, would never do that far. They'll still cut good, but what happens when they're that worn out, that the drive teeth here on the bottom, the chain stretches and stuff, and it wears out the clutch drum. And that's the case for this, so I gotta find a clutch drum for it, and I'll put a new chain on it. And when I was talking about the exhaust system here again, the Homelites have a lot of port area for the exhaust port, but then they have a baffle in here for restricting and spark arresting, and looks to me like it probably cuts the power. So when I get this saw up and running and do some actual work with it, I'm going to run it with and without that plate and see if it makes any difference or not. So anyway, you know what's coming next. Okay, well, we're going to do some cutting here. This is 8 inches in diameter. It's kind of a medium hardwood. It's got a lot of knots and stuff in it. So it'll be interesting to see how it cuts with this completely wore out chain. So I'll get my eyes and ears on and warm up the saw, and we'll be right back. Even with that bad chain, it cuts really good. Much better than I thought it would. So anyway, an old saw like this can still do a whole lot of work. This one I got off Craigslist. Paid the big sum of 26 bucks. It came from about 120 miles away, so shipping was pretty cheap on it too, but much better than I thought it would be. So another good piece of junk on the vintage homestead. See you in the next video. Vintage is always better.